Go this way, actually. Zen Wakaranai. Hello, everyone. Basically, Zen Wakaranai means I don't know it all. And I think it's fitting that I'm wearing this t-shirt as I tackle this subject on Valentine's Day. Today is February 14th. We're going to talk a little bit about love, sex, and they seem like appropriate topics for today. As one friend pointed out, also known, Single Awareness Day. Valentine's Day is when everybody knows if you're in a couple or not. The reason I'm talking about this a little bit is I'm getting ready to go back to Japan. I will be going back in March and hopefully resuming a life in Japan that I enjoyed for the 5 years I was there from 2004 to 2009. And in that time, I came to really, how should I say, know some things about myself. I think a lot of times when you are forced to live in another environment that you're not completely comfortable with at first, etc., you start to learn things about yourself. I found out that I like living alone. I had never lived completely alone before. I'd always either had roommates or a girlfriend, or of course, with my family and parents when I was younger. But I lived in my own apartment for the whole 5 years I was there, and I really liked it. I'm older than most Jets when they went. I was 35 when I got to Japan, 40 when I left. Certainly, Japanese people were very surprised when they would talk to me and learn that I was not married. A lot of people still are like, how does a man function? How do you do your own laundry? How do you make your own lunch? How do you cook your own meals in the evening? Is your house tidy? Things that are generally thought of as the purview of women. So, my kids were always amazed, like if we went out somewhere to a student field trip and they're like, who made your bento? And I'd be like, I made my own bento. And I think just a lot of them must have assumed that I had a wife at home that I just never talked about. Of course, the fact that I could have been gay, which I'm not, but I could have been, and, don't want a wife or whatever, doesn't really enter into the mindset of rural Japanese. But anyway, so then there were Japanese people who I knew who tried to fix me up, tried to find a nice wife for me. It's funny, when I left in 2009 and I was coming home, I got a lot of comments like, oh, now that you're going back to America, you can find a nice wife and settle down. So my question, the title of the video is no love, no sex, how long is too long? So I really am I want to ask these questions to you guys, the small audience I have here on this channel. How long do you think you could go without a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a significant other? Could you go 6 months? Could you go a year? Could you go 5 years? Could you go 10 years? If you're in your, say, teens or 20s, is it a goal of yours to be married? I never really thought of myself as someone who needed to be married. And I think now that, I've never been married, I don't think I ever will get married at this point. But the one thing, I guess, thinking about that overall, that bums me out, and the thing that I think, when I talked about getting to know myself a little bit, I think the one thing that I will miss is not having children of my own. I never thought I would enjoy teaching elementary school students, but it became part of my job, and a part of my job that I really, really enjoyed. And so I got to live vicariously through them, of course, and I would call them my kids and stuff like that. But I don't think I still don't necessarily think I want my own, but I think I would have been a cool dad, I guess is what it comes down to. I think I would have been a decent father. And I think I would make a pretty good husband, but it's hard to tell. I think if you watch my Getting to Know You, which is on this channel, there's all kinds of information about me. I met a girl in high school. I graduated and went to a local college, and she was the year below me, so she was in her senior year. I was in my freshman year of college, and we started dating. So when we were both 18, we were about 6 months apart in age, and we dated and were a couple from when I was 18 until I was 33 years old. So for about 15 years. And as these things happen and people get divorced and everything, we never got married, but eventually we separated. And a year later I went to Japan. So, and I haven't had a steady partner since then. And, you know, so you ruminate about these things, you think on them. And, you know, I think a lot of young people, they go to Japan and they expect to find Japanese women, especially if you're a guy, but also, you know, if you're a woman, you expect to find not necessarily love, but you want to find someone that you can hang out with, someone you can spend time with, etc. And it can be difficult. It can be easy sometimes, especially if you're young and a good-looking person and outgoing, but it can be difficult too. So my question for you, since a lot of you that watch this channel, you know, want to go and live in Japan, is if you went to live in Japan for a year or 2 years and you didn't find someone because of the language barrier, because of, you know, geographical factors where you're living and there's not a lot of young people around, would you be okay with that? Could you go a year without a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Could you go a year without sex? Could you go 2 years without sex? You know, these are questions you need to think about if you're going to go, because it could happen. And I don't know, how long is too long? How long do you think, and then there's no going back? You know, I don't know. It would be weird for me now, I think, to be in a relationship again. I'm not closed to it, but I think when I go back to Japan, I'll be focused on work and kind of getting back into my life, and I enjoy a lot of other things. I'm not a lonely person. I have friends, and I really, you know, when I was in Japan as a JET, as an ALT, I really got into my job and doing things with my students. But I'm wondering, you know, I don't know that I will really be on the lookout for somebody to spend time with in any significant way. But I wouldn't be opposed to it if it happened. I know that sounds weird. So I guess that's my question. You know, if you're a youngish person, what's the longest you've ever gone in between boyfriend or girlfriend? Do you just date and don't have serious relationships? That's foreign to me. I mean, I haven't really actively dated since the 80s. Since I was in high school. So that's weird for me too. I mean, I went out on a few dates in Japan and had some fun and met some women and stuff, but it was hard. I'll be honest, you know, it was tough with the language barrier, and you know, I know more Japanese now and stuff, but I just stopped trying, I think, after my 3rd or 4th year. Shimane is tough, you know, with the age demographics. The young people tend to go off to the big cities to go to school, go to university and find work and have fun and be young. And the people that stay behind tend to already get married very young, or you know, the other end of the spectrum is there's a lot of old people in Shimane. Anyway, this has been a 9-minute video of me rambling on, but the basic question remains: what's the longest you think you could go for? Do you think you could hold out from sex for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years? Do you think you could get by with no relationship for your time in Japan? All right, and happy Valentine's Day if you are in a couple. If you're not like me, you know, have a Kit Kat. I went crazy with the Valentine's Day chocolates in the local grocery store, and I hope you have a good day anyway. All right, man. Peace.